Welcome back, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. Boyers, we are still going strong. The Cats survive, get to the second weekend, beat Troy, beat Illinois. Man, how good does it feel? Finally in the Sweet 16, the first time since 2019. Just give me some of your takeaways from the weekend and how great it felt.
Oh man, Cam, so much fun this weekend. I'll say, it sounds insane to say the first Sweet 16 in 6 years, especially kind of early on with Cal. It was not just Sweet 16, you were just penciling us into the Final Four every year. I mean, I know throughout my high school life, I was pretty damn spoiled by the Cats, but
those were the days, man. Those were the days.
It felt so good. I know we'll start with the Troy game, but yesterday, that game against Illinois was the most fun I've had watching UK basketball in a very long time. It took me back to my high school days, and part of it was hand up. I thought we were going to lose that game. I know we didn't do predictions. If we would have, I would have picked Illinois. They were, the betting favorite, and just to come out and kind of dominate it the whole way, and we'll get into it. Play really, really well, but just Friday and Sunday, just ton of fun. I mean, I watched basketball all day Thursday and Saturday, and then obviously UK on Friday and Sunday, but I haven't had a chance to do that a lot in recent years because we're usually losing either Thursday evening or Friday, and just ruining the whole weekend. So just I needed it, and I think BBN as a whole needed it, and it was a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, and let's put it this way. Obviously, just whole picture looking at everything that's happened so far this season, the injury-riddled season, obviously not returning a single point from the previous, team. I mean, just getting to the Sweet 16 is an accomplishment all of itself. Obviously, we're facing Tennessee, so obviously, just winning, going to the Sweet 16 is not going to be good enough now that we're here. But just whole picture, just talk about a little bit what you thought of this team and how, because I think at the beginning we both predicted the team's ceiling was a Sweet 16 before we started, and we started seeing this team play. And even with the injuries, they've still made it to that Sweet 16. Obviously, we want more to happen. But just give me some of your overall thoughts on the team so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a massive success, and, hopefully it's not coming to an end. But, yeah, when we talked, season preview, I told you I didn't know what I was expecting out of this team. I thought Sweet 16 was essentially the peak. I thought if you make it to the second weekend, I'm going to be jumping up and down and ecstatic, and I still am pretty, if they do happen to lose Friday night, I'll look at this season overall very positively. But you said it, the injuries, everything that's come up. This team was never, Mark Pope built this roster in, a few months. He got here, to your point, not a single point returning. He didn't even have a coaching staff. He had to spend his first 2 weeks not recruiting players. He was going out and recruiting coaches.
Yeah.
And then to build a team that is as competitive as any team in the country and to go to the Sweet 16, I think it's an overall huge success. And really over the last, 3 or 4 weeks, it feels like this team's identity's really changed.
Yes.
It went from, felt like we had to outscore everybody, and honestly, we thought the matchups we would play better against were, the Floridas, the Alabamas, Auburns. Now we're going out, and the teams we match up better than are the teams that you kind of get in these rock fights with. And in part, they know they've lost Jackson Robinson for the year. Pope's had to adapt without one of his best scorers. They've gotten better defensively, and just it's a really, really great coaching job. And, now he's got a couple tournament wins under his belt. That was kind of his big knock coming into this. I think you're just seeing, it's only his first year, but it's a hell of a coaching job. And it might be one, even if he goes on to win a national championship, we might look back in 10, 15 years and be like, that was one of the best jobs he did with that group.
Yeah. And just to throw your point and just emphasize it, this is the first team in NCAA history to return 0 points from the previous team and make the Sweet 16. That for your first coaching job at the University of Kentucky is outstanding in and of itself. Obviously, if our old friend Coach Cal probably wasn't in the Sweet 16 and make it even look a lot better. Same thing for if BYU's head coach didn't make the Sweet 16 as well. It seems like Pope's just has to match these guys. Each time they go up, Pope's got to match them and, win another game. Obviously, all started with getting the first monkey off the back, beat Troy by 19 points. Pope's first tournament win. Obviously, our first tournament win since 2021.
Yep.
I mean, just big monkeys off the back. Get the team feeling right. Really good defensive game against Troy. Obviously, Troy's wasn't a great scoring team, not a great shooting team, but it's still good to see. And like you mentioned, the team's identity is just completely changed. I mean, I don't want to call us a defensive team, but it almost feels like we're getting to that point where I almost trust us more defensively and rebounding. Which, if you would have told me I'm saying this, 2 months ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But Kentucky beats Troy 76-57. Give me some of your big takeaways from that game.
Yeah, real quick before that, I mean, would you believe that over what is it? I think it's the last 3.5 weeks of college basketball, Kentucky's ranked 11th in defense efficiency. Like from where this team was early in the year, I agree. I don't think we're a defensive, team, but they're figuring out how to just make enough plays here and there, and I think you really saw that on Sunday. But yeah, as far as this Troy game, I thought a really good performance from Kentucky. Troy kind of hung around for, the first 12-ish minutes or whatever there. Troy plays a style where they weren't going to get blown out. They were going to, kind of hold the ball, turn it into as much of a, rock fight as they could. And, to go win by 19, I think is extremely impressive. And you had it, upwards of 23 at one point or, led by as many as 25. So I think a really solid performance. Otega, obviously a really good game. Andrew Carr, I thought, played really well. Amari didn't score well, but, still had 13 rebounds and one of the nicest coast-to-coast plays we've seen out of him and really out of any big this year. So I thought everybody played pretty well. And, it was, to your point, just get the monkey off the back. They did that and really took care of Troy with no issues.
Yeah, really it was a real slow start offensively in this game. Started to pick up a little bit later in the game. Otega, I think this is like what you look at for Otega, and this is like the dream game for him, where this is just like him playing two peak all cylinders, 20 points, 8 boards, and 6 assists for Otega, which, I've been as critical of him when it comes to passing the rock, and I will do it in the following game that we talk about here in a little bit. But at least in this one against Troy, 6 assists to only 3 turnovers and 8 of 13 from the floor. This is if we're going to go to a Final Four, if we're going to beat Tennessee, this is the type of Otega Oweh that you're going to need. He's got to be able to get you anywhere from that 15 to 20 point mark, and he's got to be able to crash the glass, and lately he's been willing to do that.
Yeah, just another really strong game from Otega. To your point, very efficient. The rebounding, I agree, that's one of the biggest keys. And then, Amari with 13, Troy obviously didn't have a ton of size, so it felt like a game you should kind of, out rebound. I know we still only did it by 1, but I thought we got every crucial one. And, Otega just gave you kind of everything you need. I agree he's going to have to play a similar game, against Tennessee. I thought he played really, really well in the second half against Illinois. I know we'll get there, but if he can kind of stay on that trajectory, this team, there is a Final Four potential limit for this group.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. It felt like Amari had 8 rebounds in the first 8 possessions. He had 7 boards in the first 4 minutes. Still finds a way to finish with 13 in this game.
He only played 24 minutes.
Yeah, I really loved the minute sharing in this game. Able to get some of these guys off the floor, keep them fresh for the game that we played on Sunday against Illinois, because we needed those guys to play a lot of minutes, in hindsight. The only thing that's concerning me about Amari, and I'm going to bring it up in the Illinois one as well, is finishing around the rim for whatever reason in these past 2 games in the tournament. Really has just been abysmal. Whether it's, I know he came out with a back injury on Friday. Hopefully, he's going to have all week to rest that until this Friday. Hopefully that's the issue, and, it's just a lost cause by the time we get to this next game. But it is really concerning because the team as a whole, I'm going to bring up Lamont, of course, as well, with missing a lot of layups in this game too. But the missed layups, you're going to get away with it with teams like Troy, but facing Tennessee, those are ones that are going to have to be made.
Yeah, you hear a lot of guys, and not just from Kentucky, but teams all over the country. They talk about, these balls that you play with in the tournament, but, Tennessee is going to be playing with the exact same basketball. So
look at St. John's; he couldn't make a layup.
If you want to get me on a bigger rant, we can talk about that for another day. The fact college basketball doesn't have just a universal ball, and if you look at the numbers, every year in the tournament, every team shoots significantly worse in the tournament than they do throughout the regular season. So, but I'll save that rant maybe for an off-season topic. But yeah, you got to finish. You know, I obviously thought things were a lot better on Sunday. Maybe outside of Amari, it felt like he still had a bunch. But yeah, I mean, overall, happy with the game. To your point, we got to find a way to make some of these layups because every possession is going to be a grind against Tennessee on Friday.
Yeah, and one of the things you brought up earlier that I thought really just kind of summarized this game well was just the entire team just played to what they needed to.
Yep.
Like you got what you needed from just about everybody in this game. And I think it perfectly is summed up by what Colin Chandler's given you.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, this guy probably has more confidence pulling from three than even Kobe might, which is kind of crazy to say. It's even shown more in the Illinois game on Sunday where he pulls up from the logo twice. But, I mean, in this game, Colin Chandler had 9 points, 2 of 4 from three and 3 from the three-point line. And, he's still your second best on-ball defender outside of Lamont Butler. And right now, I mean, he's taken all of Travis Perry's minutes away, and I couldn't be more thankful for that.
Dude, the growth of Colin Chandler is
it's been
remarkable.
In the last month, too. That's it.
Absolutely remarkable. I still worried about him coming into the tournament. We talked. I was saying there's that point where it felt like he played really well at home, and then when he got away from Rupp, he just kind of had those freshman moments, and he looked uncomfortable again. I mean, back in December, the guy looked like he didn't even want to touch a basketball. He had zero, anything to do with it. He looked like the least confident guy. I was thinking like, this just ain't going to work out for him. Not just this year. I wasn't even penciling him on the team next year. I didn't think he had it in him. And then to get to the point where you're catching the ball at the logo and pulling it with zero hesitation, and to your point, he's got as much confidence as anybody on the team, and I feel as confident when he shoots the ball outside of Kobe Bryant. I think it's going in more than any other person on this team, and he's a really good defender. I didn't think his offense could get anywhere close to where it is, and it just feels like pure confidence in himself, and he's been as fun, I think, as any player in recent years to really watch the growth and development. Because, again, he really was unplayable early in the year. We've said it multiple times on here, like, this just isn't going to be a spot for him. And then he just kind of slowly chipped away at it, found his role, and, to your point now, if he can take every, Travis Perry minute going forward, I'm not going to complain because right now he just gives you so much more that Travis can't.
Yeah, and it's so weird that his growth has all been within the last month. I mean, Right before the SC tournament, he almost fouled out in that Alabama game in the first 4 minutes he was on the floor. Since then, he's just been, I don't want to say terrific, but he's given you exactly what you need. A guy who has athleticism, can push the ball up the floor, and I trust him to get the ball up the floor right now. I know earlier in the season we didn't trust him just to get it across the half-court line. Right now, outside of Lamont and maybe Ortega and Kobe, he's probably that guy that you'd like to have handling the ball, when those guys are out on the bench. And then somebody else who, you and I, not necessarily fans of, but played really well against Troy. That's your man BG, Brandon Garrison in this game. I mean, he had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 5 of 7 from the floor in 15 minutes. I think this is not necessarily the points. You don't need 13 points from Brandon Garrison to be successful. But the other stats, I think that's what you need. Him to play right around that 15 to 16-minute mark, grab you 5 to 6 rebounds, give you a couple assists and a couple of steals, and just change some shots as well, which I think he's done a lot better job as of lately. This is what I think we need from BG going forward, and I'm really hoping he continues to grow.
I agree, and I'll get into some BG complaints in the next game, but I'll let this go. But no, I agree. This is the kind of game he should play really, really well in, right? Troy's not a very athletic team. Their tallest player's 6'8". It was nice to see him go out and do what you need him to do. I still don't love him shooting 3 threes, but I'll digress on that and let it go. But yeah, this is the kind of game where he should be able to go out there and give you 15 minutes, grab 6 rebounds, and score within the flow of the offense and running the floor. I was happy to see it from him. I didn't have too many complaints Friday night, maybe other than he pulled 1 too many threes.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the only complaint I have from Brandon Garrison is that he goes 1 for 3 from three. I'd sign me up for that right now because I'll take it. I mean, another big that we necessarily haven't talked too much about in this game, Andrew Carr was really good.
Yep.
13 points on 5 of 7. And it seems like whenever he does cross that double-digit threshold, he's so efficient when he does it. And something else that you haven't really seen from him that he did in this game, how about 3 block shots from him? He played really good defense in the Illinois game, I'm sure we'll get to as well. But you're starting to see, that veteran, that guy who's played in a couple NCAA tournament games. He's starting to show a little bit of that, leadership and those capabilities to, get Amari Williams settled down, maybe help BG on the sideline. He's showing those, and I think, a lot of it is because he's been under Coach Pope wing the entire season. He's like a little mini version of Coach Pope.
Yeah, and you can tell he's really starting to feel healthy again. There was that stretch when he was playing, but he wasn't playing very well. And I told you I just don't feel like he's healthy. You're really starting to see just how effective of a player he can be. And I think he's obviously always going to struggle against a team like Florida or Bama on the defensive side. He's not the most athletic guy, but I thought he did a lot of really good things defensively here against Troy. We'll talk about it. I thought he did a lot of things really well on Sunday, defensively as well. And then just 5 of 7 from the floor, 2 of 3 from behind the arc. To your point, just extremely efficient. Amari was grabbing every rebound that was near him, so I can't get too upset at him for only having 2 boards when you're sharing the floor with that guy. But 3 assists to go along with it. I thought he did a really good job when they were kind of playing the offense through him.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you anymore. And I just got a question for you here. What if I would have told you that we lead for 36 minutes and 30 seconds in this game, but we're going to lead Illinois for a longer period of time on Sunday?
Yeah,
what would you have said to that?
I would have said you were crazy. Like I said, I didn't think we were beating Illinois. So the fact that, we not only beat them but led the entire game, I know we'll get into it. And I mean, if you're ready to hop into that one, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to start fading some of your picks as of late because, as you mentioned before we hopped on the podcast, you had a pretty miserable weekend betting.
No.
I had the Cats winning.
Hang on.
I had the Cats winning this game. You said off air.
Hang on. I would like to make a point. I lost. I had $150 in bonus bets. Those are the ones I did really bad. Those were the ones where I was trying some long shots. Had Watford money line. Had Grand Canyon money line. Stuff like that. So those were some long shots in there. Now I will say I bet probably 10 of the 16 games on Thursday, 14 of the 16 on Friday, and just about every game Saturday and Sunday. And my account had $1 more than it had in it before I started the day. So
what you're saying is you spent 2 full days to make $1 is what I'm hearing.
Yes, but I mean, if you tell me I'm going to bet 50 games, I probably think I'm going to lose $180. So I will take essentially break even with the volume I had on these 4 days.
Maybe if you would have listened to your co-host over here and had Arkansas beating St. John's,
I know,
and, ridden with your old buddy John Calipari one more time, you would have made a little bit more cash on Saturday.
I know. You know me. I'm the biggest Cal fan on the planet, and he owns Rick, dude. He just does, and I thought this would be the time Rick gets over the hump, but Rick still just can't stop pressing when he plays against Cal, man. There's something internal. He just wants it so much that I think it affects his players, and I think it affects him. And if just briefly we'll talk about it. I mean, I know your best player's not having his best game, but you sat him for the final 5 minutes of that one. You couldn't buy a bucket. I think you got to leave your offense in there and give him a chance. And I think he just pressed way too much to try to beat Cal. Cal was in his head. Yeah,
the amount of minutes the amount of layups that St. John's missed was just astronomical.
They're brutal offense.
That was one of the worst games I've ever had to sit through and watch the offense between those two teams. And obviously, Cal finds a way to get to the Sweet 16. There's 3 things that I know Jacob Boyers likes. It's John Calipari, Seth Greenberg, and Dan Dodd.
My favorite. Yep.
Those are his 3 favorite things. He loves them all.
But I will say I like Cal the best out of all 3 of those by a lot.
It's not saying much. I'm not setting the bar too high for that one. Obviously, the Cats on Sunday led for 37 minutes and 24 seconds in this game, beat Illinois 84-75. Jacob, I'll let you start us off. Give me some of your biggest takeaways from the game on Sunday.
Yeah, we touched on a few, but I mean, just quickly, again, as fun of a time I had watching Kentucky. I mean, Illinois' last lead was 5-4 in this game. Um, the Cats came out and really just put the pressure on them defensively. I mean, the first bucket of the game comes from a Lamont Butler steal that, he's able to give it up to Kobe Brea at the rim. Like, from moment one, they set the tone defensively in this game, which is not something, I foresaw coming. And they never really let Illinois get into a rhythm, and they held pretty much an 8-point lead, it felt like, for the entire game. There were a couple times Illinois, cut into it, and they had it to 5 at halftime, and Kentucky comes right out and scores 6 straight and goes up 11, and Illinois is calling a timeout. I mean, just extremely impressive. Biggest takeaways are obviously, Lamont Butler had, a really, really, really good game, probably one of his better games, probably his best game since that Louisville game back in December. Kobe Brea, when he's on, he is just as good offensively as anybody in college basketball, and it's so nice to be able to see him work that mid-range more. He made a couple nice cuts to the basket, stuff like that, outside of just shooting the threes. And then the emergence of Colin Chandler and the, confidence that he continued to show, and those were probably my 3 biggest takeaways in this one.
Yeah, I go in to give this guy a little alley-oop to take 1 point away from me. He decides to take 3. But I just want to repeat what you said.
Back it
up. Lamont Butler, I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is his best game since that Louisville game. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to top that Louisville game with how he played in that one. But just, he was doing it from every aspect in this game. He made 2 threes. He was good from the free throw line. He drew 7 fouls, had 5 assists, and 3 steals. I mean, this is the prototypical Lamont Butler game, what you want him to do. He was obviously great defensively as well. The Kasparis Yakachunas, which I actually think I said that right, surprisingly enough.
That was really good. That was the best pronunciation I've heard of it.
I mean, don't want to toot my own horn because I'm going to probably mispronounce somebody's name later in this podcast, but, I mean, he only allowed him to have 13 points on 5 of 13 shooting and 6 turnovers. Yeah. And that was really the key to this game. He wasn't able to get going, and neither was Will Riley, and a lot of that was thanks to Lamont Butler's defense.
Yeah, Lamont was great, and it just felt like every time we needed a play, he would make it defensively, whether it was getting a steal or, forcing a bad shot from Illinois. It was always there. I mean, that one he had in the second half where he gave it up to Garrison for the and one. I mean, that was, I don't know. I think I got up and ran down my parents' hallway. I was so excited, and I couldn't even believe the fact BG made it. I think that was part of it.
Here comes the BG.
Yeah, sorry. That was an unnecessary shot. That one, it was just kind of hanging there, but yeah, I mean, and then another guy, obviously Ortega plays. I don't want to say he played bad because he was in obviously foul trouble for the first half. But me and you were texting, and you said it, and I couldn't have agreed more. Like, it feels like his second half is coming, and I thought he really kind of came out and played really, really well in the second half, and was kind of that extra factor into making sure that Illinois could never really get back in that.
Yeah, and to just talk about the Ortega struggles, it seems like we've got to get him to stay out of foul trouble. It seems like in at least half of the games in the past 5 or 6. He's going to half with 2 or 3 fouls where he's sitting for 10 minutes plus. Yep. And you saw the difference. I mean, we go on an instant 6-0 run to start the half and, just get that lead to double digits. And it's a completely different team when he's on the floor. Yep. He's got to find a way to – and it seems like every one of his fouls is really just a ticky-tack reach in, a going over the back, doing something like that.
Position a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad things. And, something that for Patino say, it's like if you're gonna cause a foul, like, it's got to be body to body. We don't need, arms reaching out. We want fouls that are actually going to cause a purpose and, be able to help your team win. And Ortega's really not doing that. That's why a lot of his second halves have been a lot better. Obviously, his second half in this Illinois game was pretty good. He had still finished with 15 points on 6 of 12 shooting, only playing 24 minutes in this game. Yep. My biggest gripe with Ortega, outside of getting into early foul trouble, is dude will not pass the ball to an open shooter. I mean, I've got casual fans that are texting me during the game and saying, hey, he's got Kobe Brea open in the corner. Hey, he's got Colin Chandler open in this corner on a fast break. And to a certain extent, I like his aggressiveness and I like him getting to the paint. But there are times when it's just like, hey, Kobe is the best shooter in the NCAA. Let's get him open looks when we can, because you see what happens when Kobe gets open looks. He usually knocks them down.
Yeah, and I agree with you in, the grand scheme of things, and don't get me wrong, this is something I've been extremely critical of Ortega in the same, same wavelength as you. Like, there's a lot of times. I did think the one, and I know which one you're talking about because we had a casual fan text both of us, text both of us in a group chat, after the one, and like that was actually one I was kind of okay with because I think it was 2 straight, drives right before that he finished, It's kind of like, a 3-point shooter that gets hot and then has a little heat check, and the offense was going good. When it kills me is when we just can't get anything going offensively and he's trying to take 3 guys. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Kobe was open on that one. It would have been really nice to hit him. But all in all, the second half, I thought Ortega was very, very good. And I think if you can get a similar, game like that against Tennessee over the course of a whole game from him, I think you're going to be in a pretty good spot. One thing I do want to credit Pope for is, he's always talked about, and I tend to agree with him on this, you don't want to foul your own guys out. So he talks about how, he's going to play guys with 2 fouls and a half. And Ortega sat for, when did he pick up his second foul? He was
out for a long time.
There was quite a bit. And I thought Pope might try to force him back in there, but Pope kind of just realized, like, hey, there's no reason to risk him getting that third. The offense is clicking. We're playing really well. Colin Chandler's playing really well in this role. So I do credit Pope a lot to not, go with his instinct and kind of put him back in there and risk him picking up that third foul. Because if you do that, he may never get into that rhythm in the second half. We've seen that plenty of times where, he gets an early third foul and then he almost picks up his fourth the second he checks back in. So.
Yeah, Ortega picked up that foul with 12 minutes and 31 seconds left in the first half. So he sat for the final 12 of the first.
He didn't foul again. He didn't have a single one in the second half.
At some point, you have to learn your lesson. Like, man, if I want to play, I'm going to have to play without fouling. And he did that towards the end of the game, and he was terrific. Just the backcourt in general. I don't know who we consider to be the 2 guard in this lineup with Kobe and Ortega. Not sure which one counts, but just all 3 of, the guards in this game were terrific. We're just now getting to Kobe Brea, who had 23 points in this game and went on a 10-0 run by himself.
Unreal.
10 of 16. He's starting to create his own shot. And because he's able to create his own shot, it feels like we're even getting more open looks as well. And one of the things, you and I have both talked about, it's those auxiliary stats that Kobe's been able to get as of late. 6 rebounds in this one as well. Got 3 steals. Kobe was he was doing it all in this game, and it was great to see.
He has really shined in that, Jackson Robinson role with Jackson being out. He's doing everything I think we kind of were hoping Jackson.
Can I say something?
Let's hear it.
He's better in the Jackson Robinson role than Jackson Robinson was.
I don't know. We got to remember that guy did go drop 27 at Mississippi State and had some other really big games right before he got hurt. So, but I will say this version of Kobe Brea that we did not see when Jackson was in there, and that just might be part of it, right? Like those 2 guys were, Kobe couldn't play this role with Jackson out there, so like there is obviously, that seems very real because you're seeing it, but him being able to create is so big. Like that one where he had the dude spun around backwards as he's hitting that little mid-range jumper, like I love it. And like we say it every time, like he shot the ball 16 times, he can still not shoot it enough for me. Like I would love to see him. I'm fine with him just continuing to create in that mid-range. Like we talk about like, you don't want mid-range shots, and I tend to agree there. But I don't know if the guy misses a basket from, 15 feet. Like, he is automatic. I think he missed
that one turnaround he had on the baseline. That's about all I can remember him missing.
But, I still feel like he's probably shooting 98% on that shot on the year. Like, it's unreal. And, yeah, 10-0 run by himself, 6 rebounds, just 36 minutes, really just kind of dominated. And, man, I can't wait to see what he does Friday night. Because if he gives you another game like that and you beat Tennessee, he's entering that like legendary March run status, and I would love to see him just keep doing it.
He really is, and obviously we'd all love to keep seeing him doing it. His team, obviously, we just want to see them all keep winning and all keep improving. One thing we've noticed, we've talked about it before. It seems like whenever you get, Ortega, Lamont, and Kobe to play well, usually that's when Amari and Andrew don't step up. What about
Yeah.
on Friday night? How about we get a little bit of all of them to step up and play, their game? Get all of them into double digits. Obviously, all in double digits asking a lot. But in this game, I mean, Amari with the finishing issues, we talked about it in the Troy game. It might have been worse in this one, at least at the start. Amari, I thought, had a pretty poor first half, was great in every other sense in the second half. I mean, 8 points, 10 boards, and 6 assists, and I'm over here with 3 blocks, and I'm talking about, man, a really bad first half. My expectations for Amari Williams are off the charts, and I will completely, I will say that they're probably too much to live up to, honestly, at this point in the season. It's just how much this offense runs through him, how many rebounds he creates, how many shots that he changes. I think he's the key to how far we can go in March. If he plays really well, I don't see why we can't get to a Final Four. I know Houston is your national champion pick, so obviously we'd have to knock them off on the way. But what do you think about Amari in this game and going forward?
Yeah, like you obviously can't erase the missed layups. Like those are a big deal. But I agree with you. Outside of that, I thought he played really, really well. I mean, the big thing, we talk about it a lot for me, 6 assists, only 1 turnover. Like he wasn't forcing, there weren't those moments of him trying to find someone cutting and he throws it 6 rows up into the stands like we've seen. There wasn't anything really forced. Obviously, you can't just overlook the fact that he missed 3 or 4 layups right at the rim in the first, 10 minutes of the game. Like that is a big deal. But outside of that, I thought he played really well. And, even, Stan Van Gundy, who's calling the game and, is an NBA guy.
Stan Van Gundy.
I like him, but like there was even a moment where he's like, I forget the exact play, but, we get a stop and he goes back and he's like, this is all being caused by Amari Williams. And he's like, there's so much he does on the defensive side that's not just getting shown as, a block shot or, a rebound. Like he's essentially the leader and, point guard, whatever you want to call it, of the defensive side there playing the 5. And then he does the same thing offensively. There's so many times where you can give him the ball at the top of the key and he makes the pass that leads to the pass. And, you can't take away the missed layups, but I really do think he played really, really well outside of that. And, if he got 2 of those layups to fall, I think, we're talking about just another all-time great Amari performance.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about getting in the double digits for points, having a double-double, close to a triple-double with 3 blocks. And that's just finishing around the rim. Hopefully the back was the issue on Sunday, and hopefully, it clears up with some time off. Somebody who, obviously had the back issue later. You mentioned he's looking more and more like himself. Didn't really have a great offensive game in this one. Not as efficient as we're used to. Andrew Carr, 4 points in this game, 6 rebounds on only 2 of 8 shooting. But where I really thought he stepped up was he had multiple possessions down the stretch on the defense side of the ball where he really just stifled the offense for Illinois. And then he comes down and has a huge and one. And it seems like he is the guy who continuously has those huge and ones, just like he did against Duke. And 3 steals in the game for Andrew Carr. I can't imagine telling myself earlier in the season after the first half of Duke that I'd be talking about how Andrew Carr's defense is a potential reason for why we won a game.
Yeah, he's another guy. There's a lot of guys on this team. I think Kobe Brea is one of them. You're seeing it with, Colin Chandler's getting better and better. Like these guys are just getting better defensively. I said all throughout the, SEC, like, Andrew Carr is not going to be a better defender. He's not going to get any quicker laterally, but like he's finding ways and they're finding ways to make sure he's kind of playing the perfect role. Again, there's certain teams that he's just not going to be a good matchup for, but like against a team like Illinois, like, guarding a guy like Avicic or Will Riley, and I thought he played really, really well. Not as efficient as you mentioned as we'd like to see from the offensive side, but that and one was at a huge time.
Huge.
I similar to your point, I turned to one of the guys at my parents' house that we were watching with, and I'm like, every game that he gets an and one down the stretch, like I feel like we're gonna win. Like he makes a big play offensively when you need it. and now he's starting to make those big plays on the defensive side here and there when you need it.
Yeah, it seems like the complete opposite. Where like if you see a banked in three against us, you're just like, okay, yep, well there's the game. We can go ahead and pack it in. So hopefully, knock on wood. I'm not jinxing us for this Tennessee game, but somebody else I thought was terrific in this game and also led to a lot of why Will Riley and Yakachunas really struggled was Colin Chandler. The defensive pressure he's putting, going through ball screens, off of pick and rolls, has just been tremendous. That was the only reason for him playing earlier in the season was for that defensive mindset. And 2 logo shot threes that both go in. I mean, the shot shape just looks so much better. I know earlier in the year it was just a giant rainbow that looked like it was going like 6 rows into the stands like a random Amari Williams pass. But he's been so great as of late. 6 points in this one, 3 steals on 2 of 3 shooting from 3. And that defensive presence that he adds. We really don't have that guard that is like 6'5", 6'6", that's able to give that type of versatility. And he's really bringing it to you as of late.
Yeah, I'm obviously really, really great. The big thing for me is like, just now you don't feel as bad, taking Lamont out for, 10-ish minutes here and there. Or, like in this game, Ortega's in foul trouble for most of the first half. You don't feel the need to rush and put him back in there. We don't need Colin Chandler to be Michael Jordan or, even Jackson Robinson, like, some people had said. Like, you just need him to be good enough to kind of spell those guys and let him play, 15-plus minutes, really rest in any of the 3 guards, because I think now he's kind of getting into a role where he can really play out there with any of them. The fact that he's not a liability to shoot the ball earlier in the year, would have been really tough to play, him, Lamont, and Ortega together. You don't really have a, shooter of that group. Now, you mentioned it, like, if you need to get Kobe Brea a rest, you feel confident that if Colin Chandler's got it, the smallest window, he's going to shoot it. That's the other part. Like, it's not like he's only taken 3 threes, but it's not like he's like begging to be wide open. I mean, if he's got any room, he's pulling the trigger, and it's just such a different player than we saw earlier in the year.
Yeah, and imagine a team of these Wildcats where Lamont's actually feeling good to shoot the 3-point ball. Kobe's a threat from 3. Colin's a threat from 3. Obviously, Trent Noah's been a threat as well. Carr's making threes too. I mean, you're getting to the point where you're going to have to start stretching these teams out so far that those back cuts that we saw work so much earlier in the season are going to start working. And against an aggressive team like Tennessee, I think that's going to be a big key to look forward to, is seeing how those back cuts work, especially, I mean, our bigs are great passers. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works, especially hopefully Rick Barnes is looking a little bit too much into the last couple of games on the way Colin's shooting, Kobe's shooting, and the same with Lamont, because I think there's a big opportunity for those against Tennessee.
And it just makes like a guy like Ortega always so much better. I mean, he's got that lane to drive. He's not, he doesn't have to go up against 2 defenders and try to force it. He can, one-on-one, I feel as confident of him going to the rim as anybody in the country. So just to be able to space the floor with all of those guys and add those extra threats, it really just opens everything up for everybody else.
It really does. And you know what else opens the team up as much as well as it is how about just the team's defense in general? Yep. 14 steals and 4 blocks in this game. If you would have told me coming into this game that Will Riley only has 5 points after seeing, how well he had been playing as of late, there's no chance I would have thought we were losing this game. And 14 steals from this team, I mean, obviously a lot of Illinois were just forced on their own behalf. But this team, as you mentioned, in the last 4 weeks has just been terrific on the defensive side of the ball, minus the Alabama games. Obviously, they're a different animal. And hopefully, we have to play them in the Final Four. I mean, we'll get there when we cross that.
We just don't see them again.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah. I would not like to see Alabama's, unfortunately. I think they'd probably beat us again for a 4th time. But just speak a little bit to what you've seen from the Cats defense as of late.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. The fact that they're, 11th in defensive efficiency over the last, 3.5 weeks is unbelievable. I mean, this team was ranked between 50 and 40th throughout the entire season. Part of that, obviously, I do think it, really kind of everything gets churning with Lamont Butler. But they won this game defensively, and there's not many games I would say that I felt like Kentucky would win defensively. And from moment one, Illinois just never looked comfortable. They were turning them over. I know I already talked about it, but from play number one, Illinois' first possession, Lamont's pick in their pocket, and it just really kind of set the tone, I thought, for the entire game. Hey, you're getting nothing easy. We're going to turn you over. And then I thought they did a really good job of getting out and running and, actually finishing some baskets in transition in this one compared to some of the other times we've seen.
Yeah, it was weird. In this game, they were finishing in transition, just not in the half court.
Yeah.
So maybe we can, get a game where we're finishing on in the half court and in transition. But just speak to two guys really quick, Ansley Almanor and Trent Noah. I mean, I think this is exactly what you're expecting from them. Just in that 8-minute range, buy you some time. Hopefully playing a little bit less. Obviously, some of them had to come in for Ortega being in foul trouble for most of that first half. I mean, 5 points from Ansley on 1 of 3 from 3, knocked down 2 clutch free throws late in the part of the game. And then Trent Noah, 4 points, happens to be at the right place at the right time, throws up a pump fake, makes 2 free throws before we go into half to put that lead to 5. Just speak on those two guys real quick.
Yeah, I feel like you skipped one guy, maybe intentionally, but
I might have.
We'll let that go. No, I thought, it's not like either one of them, blew you away with their stats or anything like that, but I thought they both played a solid 8 minutes, and gave you, just gave you solid minutes as you needed. I'm not going to say anything too positive one way or negative. I'm going to just say I thought they both played their role and played it well.
Yeah, and I really do like the minute share in this game for most of the Cats. Obviously, we want Ortega to play a little bit more than 24 minutes, foul trouble taking that away. So maybe cut Ansley and Trent's minutes in half, give them both 4 apiece, and give those extra minutes to Ortega. And you're talking about what I thought was probably one of Pope's most well-coached games when it just comes from minutes and roster execution.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it in a handful of the other games where we've seen similar minute, distribution. I think this is your lineup going forward, and obviously Trent might play a little less if these guys aren't in foul trouble, but I think this is perfectly ideal. I like Brandon Garrison only playing like 13ish minutes. I like Chandler being
is that
the
who I
number one.
skipped on accident? I forgot.
I don't know. I'll let my couple of grievances go. I'll tell you off the air. But I like, again, Chandler kind of being your main guard off the bench. No offense to Travis Perry. There's just a lot that is left to be desired with him in the game, and Andrew Carr playing 30+ minutes. We're seeing Kobe Brea just consistently get upwards of 35, 36 minutes, and it feels like Pope's really kind of just starting to say, like, these are my best guys. I got to have them out there as much as I can. I mean, there's no more continuing to try to rest and save them for the season. Like we're here, so I love to see the kind of aggressiveness with the minutes tick up.
Yeah, and it's something we've been asking for a lot as of late. Yeah. And obviously, Amari only played 25 minutes in this game. I think if he's finishing a little better, he's probably playing a little bit more minutes in this game, because it seemed like at least later down the stretch, Pope was opting for Brandon Garrison towards the end. Obviously, BG gets a block/steal with his foot. Not really sure how he did that. One of the more impressive /athletic/non-athletic plays I've ever seen. Speak to that.
Well, you brought
let your Brandon Garrison grievances fly.
You brought that play up. I couldn't believe Garrison was playing the last 3 minutes. 2 plays, one ended up not costing you. I mean, let's just be real. He fouled the hell out of that dude. I mean, he kicked him. He kicked him. The refs let it go. Do you know how bad of a foul that is in that situation?
It's terrible.
Like, horrific. And then right before that, you go up 10 with 1:10 or whatever left, and literally I'm sitting there and I yell, no threes, no fouls. No open threes, no fouls. Make them make a play, make them make a shot. BG fouls a guy driving to the basket, like not even making a play on the ball. Like, those little things, like, even if they call both of them, Kentucky probably still wins. But, like, those are little things that just, like, aren't winning plays, and it's just a lack of, like, mental focus at a time that you can't have it. And I don't know why he was in that situation. I don't care if Amari is dead tired and, Amari's not going to make that bad decision to go out there and foul a three-point shooter. Again, luckily they didn't call it. I can't believe they didn't call it. And then I did think it was out on Illinois once you don't call it, but I thought for sure that they would, give them the ball, realizing that Brandon Garrison kicked the guy in midair and they didn't call it. So, I mean, hey, I'll take it. I would prefer, especially going forward, not to see Brandon Garrison play the final 4 minutes of a game.
Well, boy, aren't you just a ray of sunshine? Maybe I got to remind you that we're going to the Sweet 16.
We are. I'm happy.
The first time since 2019.
I thought we were skipping him. I thought we were moving on and celebrating, and you brought it back up. I just wanted
the back door to get your Brandon Garrison takes, because I did want to talk about the topic on just a greater toll. What do you think about, just in general, Coach Pope opting to go for Brandon Garrison? Especially, it feels like that last 3 to 4 minutes, he really went with BG over Amari for what felt like no reason, because Amari wasn't in foul trouble, wasn't having crazy minutes to that point yet. I mean, is that something that you're concerned about going forward? Or do you think this was just a one-off?
I didn't get it. I mean, Garrison did do some things well here and there, throughout the game. So, maybe Pope was just kind of giving them that leash. But yeah, I didn't love it. Clearly, the less he plays, the better I feel. I know I'm extremely critical on him. Maybe I shouldn't be as critical because he's probably coming back next year and, may even be your starting center. We'll see. It's just little things. Like, everybody knows in that situation, like, you do not foul. And it's like the number one thing you can do. And then the number one thing you can't do on top of all that is foul a three-point shooter. But, I mean, they didn't call it, so you laugh and you move on, but yeah, I didn't love him. Part of it, you had a 10-plus lead for the final 4 minutes throughout pretty much the entire way. So maybe that was part of it too. If it ever got, to 5 or 6, he might have switched out BG for Amari. At least I would hope.
Yeah, well, in Brandon's defense, he didn't foul the three-point shooter. They didn't call it, so no foul.
That's true.
On the court.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Obviously, we're going to the Sweet 16 in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, Friday. Tip-off at 7:39 p.m.
Can
we just talk about 7:39? Why 7:39? You got any rationale behind that?
I don't. I'm sure they have a reason with TV, but, hey, I thought for sure it would be like the 10 o'clock game, so I'll take it.
Yeah, and, as a father of 2 for yourself, obviously getting the game out a little bit earlier is better for you, so you don't have to stay up all night.
It's true. I mean, I think we're gonna be partying a little bit regardless. So, I mean, whatever. Bring it on. Anytime. It's Kentucky, Tennessee, man. There is no, complaining about it being late. Nothing like that. Like, Kentucky, Tennessee, Sweet 16. This is what you live for as a fan. I wanted to throw up last night after finishing celebrating, thinking about the fact that we got to play Tennessee. I'm so nervous, but I've already bet the Cats money line. I bet it the second the line came out, and I cannot wait for Friday. Friday's going to be a blast.
I'm just as nervous as you. Normally this time of year, especially as of late, Thursday is Reds opening day. Normally, in my mind, the switch has been flipped. But guess what? It's still basketball season.
Yeah, well, I'm not even thinking about the Reds right now.
Not even thinking about the Reds. Cats play on Friday, play Tennessee. We've beat them twice already with limited rosters. Obviously, we'll still have that limited roster. Beat them 78-73 and 75-64. Obviously, Tennessee doesn't shoot the ball well. They're a really good defensive team. You have some grievances with me saying that they're a really good defensive team because of how much you think they foul and hold.
Golly.
But that's not being called so far in these NCAA tournament games. So what are you looking forward to seeing Friday outside of just a Kentucky win?
Well, I think, kind of the point we brought up earlier, as much as it, kind of surprises you, is actually the teams that Kentucky's played better against throughout the year. Especially with Jackson Robinson being out and you don't have that extra level of scorer. I think it really, a team that doesn't score a ton, I think you get some hope. I mean, again, Kentucky can go out and, score 75 and win this game pretty easily. That's not the case with most teams. I'm looking to see is the defensive game plan still the same? I hope it is, because if you watch all these other teams when they played Tennessee, they haven't just let them live with three-pointers. They're continuing to try to play them like every other team in the country. And that's where, Ziegler and Lanier are kind of getting hot, is, being able to get to the rim and create. I watched a lot of that UCLA and Watford game, and every time I was just yelling at the TV, let them shoot. And every three, it felt like they would miss by 6 feet. So it'll be interesting to hope for a third straight time, just go out and say, hey, if you guys come out and get crazy hot from behind the arc, we'll shake your hand at the end of the day. And, I'll take my chances like that. I hope that's what he does, but it'll be interesting to kind of see what his plan defensively is.
Yeah, to mostly your point, I do agree with you saying that I hope the game plan is a lot similar in letting them shoot threes. But if there is one person I don't want taking a lot of threes, it's Chaz Lanier. I mean, he was 4 or 5 from 3 in that UCLA game. And really just outside of the Kentucky games that he's played, he's been pretty good so from 3. Obviously, Kentucky was looking at him. It was probably either him or Jackson Robinson. We obviously chose Jackson. I don't want to let Chaz Lanier get hot from 3 because I think that is one way that Tennessee is going to be able to stay in this game and, keep it competitive and play to the style that they want to. So I do want to run Chaz Lanier off the 3-point lines. I feel like that's where he's most efficient. Because just in that UCLA game, he was 6 of 14 shooting, but he was 4 of 5 from 3. So 2 of 9 from the floor outside of just a 3-point line. I think you have to force Lanier off the 3-point line and make guys like Ziegler shoot those threes. And even Igor. I know he made some threes against Kentucky last time, but we're going to live and die with the big man making threes like that.
Yeah, and I would love to see Ziegler, shoot 10 threes again. I've told you, I've said it multiple times this year. I said it last year. He's the most overrated player in college basketball. I'm going to say it again. I would love it. Like, go out there, and I hope it's just like that game in Knoxville, and he shoots it 100 times, and he goes 1 of 10 again. And if he shoots 10 threes, we're winning the game. He's not going to make enough to make us pay for that.
Yeah, I hope so. But, some of your takes that you go like that, I get scared. Because usually when you're bullish on something,
okay, can I give you a take
it goes in the opposite direction.
Can I give you a take that'll make you feel better?
Give me one that'll make me feel better.
All right, so I just looked it up. A study covering 981 matchups from 2008 to 2016 where teams faced off for the third time in the game, and those teams entered the season with a 2-0 record. The team with a 2-0 record has gone on to win 710 times opposed to 271 times. So the old saying of it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row is just simply,
I've been wondering where that's been from.
Not true.
Ask Alabama. They didn't seem to mind that third time.
No. So that saying you constantly hear, at the end of the day, it's always Cats on top, baby. And I just think, let's do it again. Why not? Let's get ready to play on Sunday. Let's get ready to play Houston in the Elite Eight. I can't wait.
Some things, let's just talk about our keys to victory, what we think the Cats need to do on the offensive side of the ball to keep us going and get into the Elite Eight. I think you just need just the most average game from Otega Oweh. Yep. Give me your 15 to 16 points on anywhere from like 7 to 12 shooting, 7 to 13 shooting. And for the love of God, stay out of foul trouble. I don't need us diving into Ansley Almanor and Trent Noah in the beginning of the first half. Just your basic game from Otega Oweh. And I want to see Amari have that huge NCAA game that he hasn't had. He hasn't had that tournament game yet. And I really think we're knocking on the doorstep of him potentially having a NCAA tournament triple-double. I'm not saying it's happening in this game, but he's going to get close. He even got close in the last game. I think look for Amari to have a big game as well. And how about just Kobe, just keep the train running. You mentioned you start winning games like this, he keeps performing like this. You're talking about March of Legends. He's going to be a UK great for a long time if he continues to play like this and the Cats keep winning.
Yep. No, agree completely. I think you just need everybody to, kind of play well, right? Like, it'll be hard if, Otega goes out and is awful. It'll be hard if Lamont's bad. I don't expect either of those things to happen. But, it's also not like, I don't think, the first time we played Tennessee, I said I felt like you need someone to probably go for 30 to beat them. Like, early in the year, we were at that point. That's just simply not the case. If you can just get a handful of guys to get you, 8 to 15 points, I think you're going to be okay. Again, like, we scored 75 in the matchup and we're up and beat them. And beat them by 11. Like, they're not a team that's going to score enough, especially if we kind of keep the game plan that we've had the first 2. And I would just, everybody kind of contribute, play your role. Colin Chandler has emerged and that, since then, he's a new factor that you can play. He played less than 3 minutes in that game in Rupp, and that's with Lamont Butler getting injured in that game early in the second half. So, maybe that's just the key. Like, just tell me Lamont's going to stay healthy, and, if you can get three to four threes from Brea, I feel pretty solid about your chances.
Yeah, and what I was thinking about the threes was those other guys, Ansley Almanor, Trent Noah, and even Travis, if he does play, just come in, make your threes, open threes. You guys are the ones that are getting, the most open looks. You guys are good shooters. Knock them down. I think those extra threes, if you can get the three of those guys to just help you get one or two apiece, I think that goes a long way in helping decide this game. Jacob, are you ready to make a prediction? Do you want to make a prediction?
Yeah,
Me,
absolutely.
as you know, I'm superstitious. We haven't made predictions for either of the first two games yet, so I'm cool with not making them just to not jinx ourselves.
All right, maybe we don't give a score, but I'll tell you that the Cats are going to win. And, I said it when they played in Rupp, and I'm going to say it again. Ziegler had a good game when they played in Rupp. He did not have a good game when Lamont Butler was guarding him. I told you Lamont was going to eat his lunch, and on the very first play of that game, he picks his pocket and goes down and lays it in. Lamont is going to eat his lunch again here, and Lamont's, knock on wood, Lamont doesn't get hurt. If Lamont can go out and play the whole game, he will dominate that point guard matchup, especially on the defensive end.
And you have never heard a more obnoxious man than Jacob Boyers after he gets a take correct when Lamont made that original steal against the Kai Ziegler.
Yeah, we were together. I gave you a big old shake, and I said, I told you.
Obviously, we went through our bracket a little bit earlier last week. I have the Cats winning this game. I think they will be able to get it done and advance to the Elite Eight. Obviously, Jacob, you and I will be watching the game together. It's going to be a hell of a time. It feels like it's been so long since we've watched a Sweet 16 game. And what about a Sweet 16 game against one of your biggest rivals and get a chance to send them packing without going to yet another Final Four?
Man, I that's the thing. Tennessee, they don't make it this far. I can't wait to be the reason to send them home and, not another Final Four, and with their, crappy point guard that's been the most overrated player in college basketball for the last 8 years that he's played there. I can't wait to send him home, and I am so excited for Friday night. I am nervous because I am talking a lot of trash, and I'm going to continue to talk a lot of trash. And if we lose, I may not leave my house for, a week and a half, but we ain't losing.
Yeah, obviously the nerves, but you still have to trash talk your rival. You still got to get them in. You got a full week leading into the season.
That's what sports is about, man.
So we're going to have to trash talk. Obviously, we're nervous about this game. Tennessee is obviously a 2 seed, a really good team. We have beat them twice. Hopefully make it a third time. You got anything else before we sign off of here?
I don't. Just enjoy it, BBN. To your point, talk your trash all week. This is what we love about sports. This is going to be... Cam, I really wanted to go to this game, and then I saw to just sit at the very, very top of Lucas Oil Stadium, which is a football field, so it's not like...
Lucas Oil seats up there are terrible, too.
Way the hell up there, and it's $250, so, I would have loved to have drove to Indy, but hey, we'll be at Dickman's. Any of you guys want to come and chill with us, we'll be slamming some buckets and watching the Cats. Can't wait.
And look for us to go live. We'll probably go live on TikTok before the pregame, answering some questions you guys have.
If they win, we're going live post-game. I don't care what the alcohol level is. We're doing it.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, fire them over to us on TikTok. We'll go on TikTok live before the game and hopefully after to celebrate the Cats win and going to the Elite Eight. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Boyer's doing a great job over on the Twitter. He's still calling people out left and right. You love to see it. And follow the podcast wherever you get them, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. With that being said, let's go Cats. Let's advance to the Elite Eight. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.